put it like that, bro.
All he knows we're just giving him a hard time. We know. At this time, folks, everyone please stand. We will have our pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we will have a moment of silence, and during this moment of silence, please remember our Veterans Day tomorrow. Thank you. At this time, I would like to recognize any veteran in the room, if they would please stand. Let's all give them a round. Appreciate each and every one of you for what you do and what you've done. Approval of the agenda. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? What we have before you, you have a letter from a request from Beacon of Hope. The Beacon of Hope will be put at 4B. Also, 6B, 7, and 9C will be moved to closed session. This is all personnel matters, and we will move all three of those to personnel.
We also need to go 6C. Personnel.
6.
Yeah, 6C.
Yep.
6C. 6C will also be moved into personnel. Any other additions or deletions? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second to approve the agenda with the changes which were stated on the moving the items into personnel. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, likewise. Approval of the October 13th, 2015 minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes of October 13th?
I move that the minutes be accepted as presented.
I will
Okay.
second that motion.
I have a motion and a second on the minutes. All in favor of approval for the October 13th minutes, raise your right hand. All opposed, likewise. Okay. November 2nd minutes for the November 2nd meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes for this date? Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes for November 2nd?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, likewise. Motion passed. Okay, Mr. Russo.
I could have just let you all pass these.
We can do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Is there a microphone over there?
Yeah, I can hear.
Sure.
I'm here to talk about my department a little bit, give you all some information on what we all do at 911. We have two main functions at 911, addressing and dispatching. We're responsible for all new addresses for the county. We have assigned 63 new addresses since July of this year. We're also responsible for the street name signs for the county. We order those and the local fire departments install them. We have 8 new road names since January, 8 private roads, which are private driveways. We also take care of the special needs registry. We maintain that at 911. We have about 50 people on the list, and we contact them every 6 months and update our records at 911. And if they call on a 911, it pops up on the screen and it tells us it's special needs. Some of them may have had a stroke and can't speak plain, so that lets us know something's going on. The other thing is dispatching. We have 8 full-time dispatchers. They work 12-hour shifts, 2 per shift. We dispatch 3 MS units, 9 fire departments, emergency management, and North Carolina Forest Service. As of October, we had dispatched 7,600 calls. The dispatchers has 1 to 3 minutes to get the information and dispatch units out. This does make it very stressful. They have a few minutes to determine what the emergency is and what's going on and get some help out there. In July 2013, we started using priority dispatch, emergency medical dispatch on all of our medical calls. In September of this year, we've become accredited with the International Academies of Emergency Dispatch. 205th in the world. There's a letter that they sent out to us. In January and February, there's an article coming out in the Journal on Madison County 911 and Laurel Fire Department.
And where would we see this journal at?
I will make sure y'all get one. I've already requested additional magazines for that. The 1st of November, we went live with text to 911 with all of our carriers in the county. So now if you can't speak, you can text 911. That's not the preferred method, but we are able to do that at this time.
Teresa, what is the minimum number of houses to be on a
3,
3 on a road before it has to be named?
yes.
Okay.
And that one is the total calls that we've had since for this year. Community fire departments. Marseille is our busiest fire department.
As far as the road names,
Yes,
do you feel pretty good about the roads and the naming of the roads and people able to get to where they need to go
yes,
within the county?
yes. We do get calls from people saying it's not, when they put it in their GPS unit. And as you know, we do not control that. The most important thing is we have their address at 911 if they call an emergency. That's what we're worried about at 911.
Okay.
And new road names, they don't always get them in the system at Google Maps and all of that stuff.
So when y'all dispatch an ambulance to Spring Creek
Mhm.
and you give them an address, do they have a GPS on the ambulance?
We give them directions to the road.
Right.
They do have the GPS. Some of them do. The Spring Creek, they're gonna know where they're going. EMS, it's based on mileage. If we tell them it's 100 NC 209, they go 1/10 of a mile, it's on the right. So,
Thank you.
That's good. Any more questions? Thank you,
Thank you.
Teresa. Appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
by. Mr. Pete Ortman?
Good evening. The last time I was spoke before you was at the other at the courthouse. And at that time, of course, Mr. Wetzel wasn't a member. So if you wouldn't mind, I want to just go back and touch a little bit, because my subject tonight is about public comment, completely different from last time. At the very heart of the word democracy is, to make a long story short, is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And so public comment at these meetings is an essential part of that the people have the opportunity to make their ideas, concerns, information, or anything else known to this body. And state law says that there will be at least one period of public comment at every meeting. The problem, as I see it in Madison County, is that it is now at the very end. So when somebody has an idea, has some information, has a suggestion, they don't get to make it before you deliberate on that particular subject. This was especially true during the discussion of the shooting range. Those people who wanted so much to speak about the shooting range, who lived in the county, didn't get the opportunity to do it until the vote was taken and the matter was settled. That kind of defeats the whole purpose of allowing people to express their ideas or information. And so what I'm asking this evening is that you, the commissioners, vote to add one period of public comment at the very beginning of each meeting, just after you approve of the minutes, that would allow people to make any comment about what will be on the agenda that night, nothing else, so that they can share that information before you deliberate on the subjects on the agenda. Now, I know that Mr. Brigman is concerned about people taking a lot of time, and for good reason. This is really a full-time job with part-time pay for what all you folks do, and your meetings tend to run on until all hours of the night. But people are nervous about public speaking. It's not something that most people get up and want to do. So I don't think that if you were to have this new period on the agenda, that you're going to have storms and storms of people wasting your time. But rather, I think that it will give them the opportunity to express ideas, information, suggestions, objections to what's on the agenda. So this evening, I'm requesting that the Madison County Commissioners vote to permanently add a public comment section to each meeting. The intent and purpose is to allow the public to make a comment, suggestion, idea, or deliver general information specifically relating and exclusively relating to matters on the agenda of that particular meeting. The public comment period would always follow the acceptance of the board of the agenda. Thank you. I would hope that we would bring that up and have a vote on that this evening if possible.
I don't know that we'll have a vote on it, Mr. Walton, but we will look into it. We will discuss it as a board. We've not had time to do that as of yet, to discuss it as the board. And I would want to do that before there was any vote taken.
Okay. The law is quite specific in that it says there will be at least one period, at least one. And as you read it, it doesn't specifically say that that's what should happen. But it does imply all those terms that we talked about last time, about restraining the time. If there are a whole lot of people that want to talk to the board about something, they should pick somebody. Well, that would all be moot if it was to happen after you had made your decisions. So it seems to imply, and Donnie is certainly more qualified with it, it's a gray matter. We could probably argue either way. But I just think it's a good idea and would give the people the opportunity to share information that you might not otherwise have access to.
Okay.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
All right, making a vote.
Chairman and board members. Can you hear me?
Could you hold the microphone, please? Thank you.
Chairman and board members, thank you for letting the Beacon of Hope representatives address you today. My name is Barbara Stone, and I'm a Madison County native, and I'm a board member of the Beacon of Hope, and this is Alan Bradley. He's also a native Madison County, and he's the CEO and director of the Beacon of Hope. The Beacon of Hope has been serving Madison County residents since 1997, and starting out with about 3 to 5 volunteers and serving about 300 to 400 people each month. But today, we're serving we have over 204 volunteers that donate over 9,500 hours each year to help us serve 12,500 Madison County residents each year. We serve an average of 450 families each month with our regular food distribution, which includes government TFAB and SNAP produce we get it from MANA, the food programs. And this summer we served over 245 seniors with our local foods and local farmers program, which provided fresh fruits and vegetables from June to October to our seniors and provided extra income for our local farmers. That program was funded by the Western North Carolina Community Foundation. Currently, we are distributing an average of 90 individual plates, which we receive each week from the Food Connection through UNCA in Buncombe County and the Buncombe County local restaurants. We will be implementing a diabetic food box program in this January for our seniors. And that outcome that was discovered during the summer fresh fruits and vegetable program that we had this summer. This program was also involved our local farmers who produced lean meats. With our diabetic boxes, we have to have lean meats and not, just everything. We also just gave 80 families names, plus their dogs and cats, to receive plates for our annual Thanksgiving Day dinner that the local churches and organizations provide each year. We receive most of our food from MANA Food Bank, which Beacon receives 50% of all foods from MANA distributed here in Madison County, which is an estimated of 465,000 pounds of food each year. We also have local organizations who donate food along with monetary donations from our local churches and individuals. We also run a thrift store to help fund our organization. People from Madison County and Buncombe donate used items for us to be available. Alan's going to tell you about our thrift store.
Yes, we have a thrift store that we help the people of Madison County with, and we try to keep it limited to Madison County. However, if we do have somebody come over, which we do occasionally from Tennessee, from Buncombe County, from Yancey County, etc., we have people coming over looking for assistance. We assist them one time, and then we give them a list of places in their county where they can go. Even though we're serving Western North Carolina, Madison County is our focus and our primary avenue of support. Our thrift store is fairly small. However, we do take in clothing donations and things of this nature, and we check them, make sure they're clean, serviceable, got zippers, buttons, no stains, etc. And then we take donations for those. Example, a pair of pants, $1, $1.50 for a good pair of pants, even though they're used, they're not worn, they don't have holes in them, etc. Also for shirts, ladies' dresses. We also support the mothers of that don't have support any other way. They come in and ask for clothes for the kids for school. They don't have no money. Then I donate them like 1 or 2 sets of clothes and don't request any donation for that because we're helping out the people of Madison County. Furniture, refrigerators, always in a big demand. Picked up a king-size bedroom suite this afternoon. When I got back, there was a couch sitting by the front door. So we will take donations for those, and we turn around, we use the donations to buy food, which we give away on on Monday morning. So it's a big round robin type of deal. So it's people helping people in Madison County. We teamed up with a group of handicapped individuals in Madison County. They were having to drive all the way to Arden in order to find a place to work. And we're talking about people that are handicapped in wheelchairs. They're going to hopefully start working at the Beacon and doing community service as of 1 December. It was 1 November, but being the federal government, it takes longer to change over paperwork than you anticipate. But they are actually out of Madison County, and they've been driving all the way to Arden. We're going to start employing those as of 1 December to help out in the thrift store and go through the clothes and things of this nature. Also, the requirements for the assistance through the state have changed also. I'm sure most people are aware of it already, that as of January 1st, some of the people that are getting food stamps and assistance will be required to do volunteer hours. So that's coming up also. So there'll be plenty of opportunity for additional support in the county.
Over the past few years, the Beacon has grown considerably in the sophistication of our operation, as well as in the number of people we're able to serve. Although the community needs continue to grow, we have reached our maximum operating capacity given the limitations of our space that we now occupy. Therefore, we have made a commitment to take steps that will enable us to increase our physical space, our staff, our volunteer and donor base, thereby increasing our programs and enabling us to better serve our large number of clients. Additionally, we will improve and increase our community education and advocacy efforts to reduce hunger in Madison County. We've just acquired a piece of property out here on Highway 213 that will be a very convenient location for easy access. It's the second busiest intersection in Madison County outside of Mars Hill. And so what we're here today for is to ask for your support in efforts to continue to assist Madison County residents who are temporarily not in the position to help themselves. We're only asking for your verbal support in the communities at this time. So thank you for your time listening.
Guys, I'm proud to have you as my next door neighbor.
Thank you.
And I will tell you that I do support the Beacon through the church I attend. We give things to Beacon and do everything we can for you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Look forward to it.
Thank you. And if you've not been up and visited the Beacon and saw their thrift store, you're missing out on something. It's pretty neat. You can stay there for hours shopping and looking for things because it changes daily and you never know what you want to find.
Is that where Donnie got his suit?
Hey, they have them like that. Okay. Thank you. Dr. Wilcox?
Thank you for allowing me to come this evening to address you. I'm here this evening to request some 4042 funds for the school system. We normally receive real low income school funds in the amount of $52,000. For some reason, the federal government decided to redraw the district lines. We became an urban county rather than a rural under that ruling. Therefore, we lost $52,000 last year in our budget. And we have been using that money for technology. We have a lot of computers in our school system. It requires a lot of money to keep those going, to replace them, and especially to replace software on a lot of those programs. They now require us to do all of our testing via computers in our school system. So we really need, some money for that purpose, and we're requesting $52,000 in 4042 funds for that. Additionally, we need 5 computers for our CTE department, the vocational department. at the high school as well. Total of $3,258 for that amount. A grand total of $55,258. We have sufficient funds in the 4042 fund to accommodate this request. Respectfully request you consider it this evening.
What's your fund balance currently?
Arlene probably would know that better than I would, but it's probably over $1 million.
So we look today, it's, as of 10/31, it's actually 1.8 million.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we grant school assistance. Sir.
Question. When we did the budget, did we not allocate $100,000 to the school system for these smaller needs? And if so, has that already been utilized? Is that why we're asking for this tonight?
Yes, we've exhausted those funds.
Oh, they're gone?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm sorry. Any other discussion? I'm sorry.
that's it.
Any more questions or comments for Dr. Wilcox?
I've got one question. The computers, the 5 new computers, are those to replace old computers, or are these to add additional terminals for student use?
I think these are for additional use.
Now that 1.8 million, Darlene, that's a gross number. That's not a net number, assuming we were to do the school projects. Remember, we said we were going to hold 2 payments in reserve. So,
That's the gross.
so realistically, that would take that down to about 700,000 to 800,000. Is that right, Forrest?
You would need, if the payments were 433, which is what we've been talking about, then you need 86. So you'd have 900 there.
Yeah.
And we don't want to draw that down below 2 payments. We've been watching that very carefully.
Any more questions for Dr. Wilcox?
Do you anticipate any other needs?
Yes, we probably will have more needs as the school year goes on. I may come back and talk to y'all sometime when maybe we have a joint meeting about another allotment of 50,000 or something to use, so I don't have to come back, quite a bit. We, from time to time, in as many buildings we have to keep up with, we have a lot of capital outlay needs. Doesn't last very long.
Understand.
Any more questions? Do I hear a motion for Dr. Wilcox's request of 4042 funds in the amount of $55,258?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of this approval for the 4042 funds, raise your right hand. All opposed, likewise.
I'd like to invite you to come by the office sometime and look at our weight room that's being constructed there behind the Wellness Center. And we're very fortunate yesterday to open up our new advanced manufacturing classroom at the high school. Very grateful for y'all for your help with that. You recall you gave us 4042 money to do the electrical work in there, so we can make that possible. Welcome, come see both of them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
That was a great event yesterday, Dr. Wilcox. Thank you.
Regina, same. Regina, we did move your personnel, B and C on your part we moved B and C to personnel.
So I just stay till we go with.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, so in your packet, you'll find the community transportation grant. That is a yearly grant that helps support Madison County Transportation Authority through capital and administrative funding. Nothing's changed on the grant this year. We apply for it every year for needs. Helps pay the bills, what the county doesn't cover on Madison County Transportation, and also helps get us new vehicles, anything that we need as far as needs for the offices there. And I'm just asking for approval to go ahead and submit this. There's going to be some more papers come through that they've not been released by the feds yet. To the actual North Carolina state, so that'll be attorney affirmations, certs and assurances, and things like that. But if I get approval, then I don't have to come back before you guys to get those signed. You can go ahead and sign those. And what I've requested, on the administrative, that's just, what we go through every year. It's helps pay the lots, or the administrative is the salaries, things like that, through Madison County Transportation. The state pays 100% salary of the coordinator's job, 50% of the dispatcher, 32% of the fiscal officer, and 40% of the director, and the county covers the balance of that. So that's what this grant incurs on. On the capital items, the only thing I've requested from the state this year, where we have everything that we need. I've requested instead of a large van, we're up to get a new van. So instead of a large van, I've requested a minivan, and it hauls 2 wheelchairs and 4 passengers. And we can use that van more efficiently with going to dialysis or taking trips, and it's all-wheel drive, so we'll be able to operate to get our people to dialysis in the wintertime and cancer care treatments and things like that. So that's the only thing I've requested for on the capital part. And the county's local share on that is $4,500.
Any more questions for Regina?
I assume our attorney has reviewed the contract?
There are some legal proceedings that you need to follow before you execute the application. I'm assuming that the public hearing notice ran in the newspaper this week.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I would advise that you open a public hearing for comment on the application. See if anyone in the public wishes to ask any questions or make any comments during that public hearing, and after you've completed that, then close the public hearing.
Okay.
That is what this public hearing notice was in your documents, gave notice for. So we actually have to have a public hearing, and you have to go through the process of opening and closing that and requesting comments.
Okay.
And if anybody has any, I have papers for that.
Okay. At this time, we will have our public hearing. Public hearing is to be held on the proposed Madison County Community Transportation Program application. Is there anyone who would like to give any type of public comment? Okay, at this time, I will close public comment for the public hearing notice. Mr. Attorney, is there anything else?
Just ask for a motion and a resolution to execute the application. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to approve the Community Transportation Program application?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the Community Transportation Program application, raise your right hand. All opposed, likewise.
Next in my packet, you'll find that, or lastly, I'm sorry, we're gonna go into closed comment, closed session on this.
You'll be, we're on D now.
Okay. Lastly, you'll find Madison County Transportation Authority recently had a state safety systems audit, and we worked really hard on this audit and getting everything in place and where it needed to be and where it needed to go. And we actually had, out of 94 possible findings, we had 1 possible finding through the state. And that was a light. When you enter upon the van, it was a little light that shined in the door. But I have to brag about our people. They do a really good job, and everybody has worked really hard. And we're very proud to say that our auditor took away some best practices from Madison County Transportation Authority to use in the other transportation divisions across the state. They have a program that's called Asset Works that we enter a lot of information into, and we started entering our training information into that, and that's not being utilized anywhere else in the state. So we have all of our training information through our drivers. entered into that. And if anybody comes to me and asks me about training records or training information on any of my employees, I can just press a button and print every bit of their information. So that'll be used at other agencies across the state.
That's good.
That's great. Glad to see that. Thank you for doing such a great job and getting us a 93 out of a 94. That's very good.
I have a question. How many drivers do we have?
I have 4 drivers right now.
Okay.
I have 2 40 hours and 2 32 hour.
How's that working out?
It's struggle, but you know, we have worked really hard to make it happen.
Okay. The reason I ask is on the public hearing notice, it says these services are currently provided using 11 vans.
We do have 11 vans, but I only currently now have 4 drivers.
Okay.
When I originally started, we had 8 drivers, and they had 11 vans. They used to be fully staffed, but as people retired and moved on, they never replaced. So they've had 8 drivers for several years. And now I've had 3 people retire, so I'm down to 4 drivers.
But there are 2
Yeah.
that'll be filled nights, so there'll be 6.
Hopefully, yes.
And Regina has brought up with me this issue, and we got a new problem, and that's one thing to brag on, is I think there was a time where the 8 was probably sufficient because it was just sort of working. And I think now that with some changes have gone in the last couple of years, people are really reaching out and knowing about the service. We're reaching out to more people, you all are. And I think as the budget comes along, either this year or next year, looking at utilizing all the vans we have would be something that I'm encouraged to do. And there's some ways to look at hours of usage for people now to maximize how we're doing that.
Okay.
I would assume some of the vans too are set up for special needs that you don't necessarily have to have that
They
van in
are.
operation every day.
They are. We do have lift vans that are, and then we have conversion vans. So we do not use the lift vans every day. You know, if we have elderberry clients that we have to take, or, you know, dialysis patients and things like that, or some people are in their home with wheelchairs, you know, we pick them up. Or if you have a walker, we still pick you up with a lift van because you can't, you know, get upon the van through the steps and stuff.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tammy, we moved yours also. Chris Watson.
Good evening. Thank you. I believe you have in front of you an application packet and a letter from the Community Housing Coalition. We were here about a year ago, and you all approved a partnership between Madison County and the Community Housing Coalition to administer home funds to free housing rehabilitation here in the county. It was about $90,000. In September, the Asheville Regional Housing Consortium announced that they've got about $1 million that they want to reallocate because of project, mostly tax credit projects that fell through. And basically, they're really pleased with the work we're doing, and so they reached out to Ryan Cody in the county and asking us to apply for these funds because it's a great way for them to kind of get them under contract and get them spent quickly in a way that really benefits the community. What we're asking for, our application is nearly identical to what we submitted in the previous funding year for the $90,000. So we're asking for $100,000 this year. That in reality we would start putting, it would be probably late spring before we actually started spending those funds, maybe early summer, because we're still working through the $90,000 we have. And it allows us to serve 4 to 6 clients, low income, very low income families here in the county. those families, not only low income, but tend to be families with special needs. So they're disabled, they're elderly, single parent families. The other thing that we ask, and as well as your support for this grant, which would be funded, would come to the county and then be, passed on to CHC, and we administer that. And that seems to be going really well. I think me and Darlene got it down, and it's pretty easy for the county to administer. But we do ask that the county help us cover some of the administrative costs. HUD only allows a 10% administrative draw from this grant. And in reality, these grants cost about 20% of the grant cost. So for every $10 we spend, it costs us about $2 in overhead. And CHC is asking that the county match CHC's input of $5,000. It should be noted that we're not asking for $5,000 from the county this year, that we will be looking for that money during your next fiscal budget. When we're, like I said, we're gonna be delayed, and actually by the time we get this contract signed and get these funds and start spending them, it would be late spring, early summer. And so would allow this funding from the county to be built into next year's budget. But this is a fantastic grant. It allows us to reach clients that normally we can't reach, because a lot of our work is performed by volunteers. We have an urgent repair grant from the state that allows us to spend about $7,000 on a home. But for homes that really need large repairs that volunteers can't take on, this gives us a large chunk of money to really preserve the existing housing stock here in Madison County. We're all struggling with affordable housing, and this is one of the tools that we have to really keep good housing stock here in the county. And it's really great that the city has actually come out and asked us to apply for these funds. So
That's good. Of course, we had that in the budget this year for what they requested last year.
We had budgeted, we did not provide a cash match in this year's or last year's request. We do have it in the budget because we show the revenue coming in and the expenses going out, but that's really not county money. This, if you'll recall, we made reductions to almost all of the nonprofits in this year's budget. This would prepare to ramp one of those back up for next year, but it's very well tied to a good program. If you also recall, a year ago, there were less than a year ago, but probably January, would have had to have been January. I had some concerns about whether this organization would be able to get through those funds, the size of the organization you are, and they've addressed all of those. The Asheville Housing Consortium had those same concerns at the time, and they're happy and going and asking that they do this. Darlene is, everything is working perfectly. She's getting everything she needs, and I appreciate Chris doing that. So knowing that it's not presenting a huge burden on the county, then I think it's something that could go a long way for a small amount of money.
Right. I think the board understands that there's no money to be given at this time. The money would come at a later date. He just wants permission to proceed with this grant, which is for the Community Housing Corporation.
correct. It should be noted, we've already submitted the grant. It was due at the end of October. We've submitted it with the consortium's understanding that it hasn't been approved by the commissioners because of the timing. So what we would look for is that be signed by the county, and then we would submit it to them. They will make the allocations during their December, I believe it's their December 3rd.
Okay.
I have a question. Looking at your projects that you have for this program year, I don't see any homes in the Laurel area. I don't see any homes in the Spring Creek area. How do we spread the love?
We have quite a number of clients up in the Laurel area, up in Spillcorn. one of the things about this grant that kind of creates a challenge is it has to be a framed house, so we can't use it on manufactured homes unless they're on a permanent foundation, the tongue removed. That eliminates a large number of our clients from this grant. We had a few clients in Spring Creek who we've served through other grants. So we are serving the Spring Creek community. We are serving those communities. But part of what we do is get the word out that, when we receive this grant, that we have these funds available. These are the requirements. Please contact our office. But I think you bring up a good point, Commissioner Rice, that we need to reach out to the Spring Creek area, and because of all of our communities, they're probably the least represented. But we do, we have about 4 or 5 clients right now that we're actively serving out there. But it can be a challenge to find a home that would fit.
I understand. I just geographically, I just want to make sure we're looking at the whole picture.
Is 20% sort of industry standard for you guys? I know in my business, when I hire a general contractor, they get 20%, 10% overhead, 10% profit. Is that pretty standard for what you guys do?
The way we measure that is we have a grant through the state that we've been about $100,000 that we've been administering the past couple of years, and looking at our costs, how much we can recruit from that. We can recruit about 15 to 16%, and that comes close to covering it. But then really there's no profit built in. It's our staff time. It's our time for our assessors. We live in a big county. You got the house in Spring Creek 6 times, and that's cost you $1,000 in driving in time. So it's an estimate. It comes in about 17 to 20%. Looking at our other grant, looking at how home has performed over the past couple of years. But, no, we're not making any money on this grant, that's for sure.
No, I didn't mean to make it sound that way. I was just curious.
It's I think, and HUD wants us to put some skin in the game. They don't want to give it to us all. They want to see the communities supporting the money we're giving us.
Thank you.
Just so everybody knows, if the county were not to provide the 5,000, what would that mean for the project?
Well, what that would mean is we'd lock you all up during the Heritage Festival and raise bail to cover the costs. But as we do a lot of fundraising. We knock on a lot of doors and try to get a lot of folks to support. The less we have to do that, the more we can concentrate on actually providing services to our clients. So
I would hope we could find the money.
And most of this money, we can't say that they have to be Madison County contractors, but the bids we get in almost are exclusively from folks in Madison County. Money is spent here in Madison County for materials, Builders Express, and Entry Hardware. And so we try to go local as best we can. So it's $100,000 of economic activity that's happening in our county.
It's good. It's good.
The 20%, does it, what does that cover?
That covers, the cost to administer the grant, so doing all the paperwork, doing the client intake, going out and assessing the properties, developing the bids, basically being a general contractor for the project, working with the clients, doing all the reporting. It's a federal grant, so there's all kinds of reporting that's required.
So that's not volunteer work then, right?
It's not. We don't get paid much. We get paid a little.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve Mr. Watson's request for the grant?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, for clarification, does that motion include the 5,000 for?
No.
Okay.
Not at this point.
No, it does not at this point. It's just for his approval for the application for the grant. Correct. That is what you were asking for.
Yes. Okay. And with the understanding we will be back in front of you asking for
Yes.
5,000.
Yes. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, likewise. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
All right, Forrest. Moving right along, Bill.
Yeah, good. Yeah, like Saturday.
All right, following up on a piece of property that we had discussed in previous meetings, I received an offer for a lot that we got for back taxes about a little over a year ago. Cottage at Creekside, Preserve at Little Pine. The offer is for $11,000. The total the county had in the property and taxes, penalties and interest was $8,860. A deposit was made that we have, and if you all choose to accept this offer, we would advertise it for, there would be a 10-day upset period for someone to come in and upset that bid. And that could go for some time, it may not, and then the county still has a right to refuse any of the offers and walk away from it.
I think we had discussed I think about every meeting we've had in the last year nearly, we discussed property that the county has and about needing to disperse of this property and get rid of it and put it back on the tax books. So, is there any discussion on this matter of the board for this property, that offer we have?
Do we need to explain the upset bid process for the general public, or do you think everybody has a pretty good grasp on that?
I think they understand that they have 10 days to upset the bid. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's some stipulations. Mr. Laws wants to explain the exact.
We have an offer. We will, we'll prepare an offer to the purchasers that will basically say, if you want to offer to buy the property on these conditions, we will accept the offer. And the offer will make it subject to publishing the offer in the newspaper, saying what the price of it is, giving the general public an opportunity to come in to the county and upset the bid, and that is an increased bid by more than 5%. That process, the upset bid period is 10 days. So based upon the original publication, someone would have an opportunity to come in within the 10 days and upset that. If someone upsets that bid, then it starts anew for another 10 days. And it will continue until someone doesn't make an upset bid within that 10-day period. At that time, the bids will close and we'll have a potential contract to bring back before you all with a final number on it to make, for you to determine whether or not then you want to sell the property at that bid price. If you so choose, then we will close the contract after your approval.
Question, does the county own this property and we get all the money, or do we have to pay the excess to the, excuse me, choke, to the owner, former owner?
The county was the high bidder at the sale. We own the property and all of the money will come back into the county coffers.
Sounds good.
I make the motion then that we accept the offer with the required contingencies.
Okay, I have a motion to accept the offer of $11,000 for this property we in discussion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor of this motion? Raise your right hand. All opposed? Michael?
Yeah, that's good.
It'd be a nice piece of property for somebody to throw an upset bid on.
The next item you have, I'm passing to you a copy of a resolution drafted by the county attorney. We have had surplus property, personal property come up a few times, and we had to have a one-page resolution to get rid of 30 folding chairs one day. And, we got a couple of things that have collected like that to try and catch them all in one fell swoop, but it becomes
a significant hindrance when departments are trying to do their work and we're all trying to do our work. And we have something that simply needs to go out the door somehow, but we have to wait for the next meeting and put together resolutions and bring those forward. So this resolution for your consideration would delegate to me the authority to declare personal property valued at less than a certain amount at your discretion. What that amount is, the statute allows up to $30,000 that the county manager can declare that surplus and still go through the appropriate process, but it doesn't have to wait for a board meeting and come forward that way.
Forrest, what's the highest value item or items that you've had to dispose of up to, to date? I guess what I'm saying is, based on your previous experience with having to deal with this, what would be?
It's mostly furniture, so a couple $100, and vehicles would be the only thing. And I would, I don't see a scenario where we'd handle that, but if we did the amount correctly. But honestly, we've just been putting them in storage for now to deal with, because it's just it's a hassle to deal with. Because we have an extra person in the office now, we have somebody who's going to be assigned that. I'll be overseeing her, but she'll be kind of tracking those and getting them out there. But we've not really it's not been something that I've been able to set aside other work to handle.
The stuff in storage, is that in county property, or are we paying to store that?
No, it's on county property.
I guess as a board, we first need to decide the dollar amount that we want to put on this, as far as a maximum amount of fair market value of less than, if you look at number A there.
Well, I think I would like to ask Donnie, should we just stick with the standard statute? What do they, that's appropriate here?
Commissioner Gentry, the statute allows you to delegate the authority to your county manager for up to $30,000. As a practical matter, most counties delegate that authority because it is a time-saving mechanism. The county manager still has to go through all of the disposal requirements anyway. What this does is when, as property is coming in, he can go ahead and dispose of it without putting it on the agenda. And not to say this is not important, but you deal with other matters. Nowadays, most governments dispose of this kind of property through online services such as GovDeals. So as this comes in, rather than him having to put it here and save it and accumulate it, he can just itemize it and put it right on the computer, sell it, get rid of it, put the check in the bank, and it's over with, rather than having to wait once a month and bring it onto your agenda. So
well, I would think that we stick with the standard provisions of the state statute.
There would not be anything inappropriate, and that would be a very practical thing to do, and that minimum is $30,000.
Everybody has to be a maximum.
Yes.
Pardon me?
You okay?
I'm fine, yes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution delegating authority for surplus property with the value less than $30,000?
So moved. Second.
First and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like, okay, motion passed.
Okay, following up on some discussions that have taken place before regarding some leases
for tenants on the bypass. I have copies of those leases based on feedback from each of those tenants being, first, let me make sure I'm giving you one at a time. The first one being Plaza Burger Parlor. You all had voted at a work session in September to send them a letter asking that a draft lease, and they agreed to the terms, and they do that by today. They did call and agree to those terms. Here is the lease that Mr. Laws has prepared. As well as a notice of intent to authorize the lease. This is for a 3-year lease, but would be required to be that this notice of the intent be published. And it would come back to for signature document.
As far as this is exactly as we had proposed, there's no request on their part to change at all.
No, they were comfortable with the numbers. There's some talk about the payment date, but I talked to Ms. Thomas today and she was fine. This allows 5 days from the beginning of the month, and she said she'll do that. Forrest, you're giving us this lease and this notice of intent, but as far as us actually making a motion for this, it would be in our December meeting, correct? Yes, you would need to vote to advertise. That's the only thing you could do now is to advertise that. The publishing of the notice that you see there.
Right.
And then you would vote in December. Does everybody need a little more time to look over this lease agreement?
So this is exactly what we agreed to submit to them.
All right. I think we discussed this pretty much in detail in our work session. And everything is in here. And Mr. Attorney, you looked over this?
I prepared that. Forrest and I worked on those. We sent those notices out, I believe, around the middle of October. The tenants got back with Forrest. I think I had put one Yancey County name in there rather than a Madison County name. We made that change and got those to Forrest, and I think everybody is agreeable on this. And you're right, Mr. Chairman. Once we run this notice, then we'll be ready to consider executing the lease at the December term, and it will be effective January 1st.
Okay. Right. Do I hear a motion to proceed with publication of notice for this lease?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, likewise. Also, that was discussed, the lease for Napa Auto Parts. Similar lease. Same lease, different square footage, therefore different rates, still 3 years. They have complied with everything that was discussed before and are good with the terms of this.
You said everything that we discussed before.
Everything that we discussed before.
Any discussion on this before?
No, it seems to be as we have requested.
This is basically the same situation other than just a different tenant.
I'll make the motion, we advertise it.
Okay, I have a motion to advertise. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor of advertising for the lease, raise your right hand. All opposed, no? Thank you.
I have a question before we leave this, just as a matter of housekeeping. How do we internally keep up with the payments we're due? Have they been paid? Who checks that box?
That is in the finance office, and Darlene and I have talked about going forward how to rectify that, getting a filing system there that has the checkoff system for all of those payments, things like that. We don't have a lot of these types of situations, but just making sure that for all of our procedures, there's a place there. 90% of them it's there, probably 95% of them it's there. And it's there for this now too.
So we got it under control.
Mhm.
Thank you.
We have a checklist that's in our book.
Oh, okay.
We can carry checks it off each time she uses it.
And okay, just y'all vote on that, yes. Just update the some general updates. Last month I talked to you about some changes to the Fair Labor Standards Act and how that'll impact comp time and overtime liabilities for the county. There was a webinar on that a few weeks after that, and basically folks at the webinar gave us a number of things to do that we were already prepared to do. You know, tell people now, I've met with everyone who is currently exempt from overtime requirements who will now be subject to them, and they are now practicing, so to speak, on keeping their hours at 40 so that we can get an honest understanding of who can bring that in the 40 and identify those cases where it's just not quite possible. We do have a little longer than I thought. It could happen as early as January 1st. The prediction is it'll happen sometime in the first or second quarter of next calendar year. So we've got a little more time, but we'll be prepared January 1st for this to go into place. And I'll be, as I'm looking at the budget numbers, as we start to see how this practice run goes, be coming with further recommendations for how to prepare for that. But as we talked about at the last meeting, if this had been in place and we were required to pay out overtime or comp time to those currently exempt employees, it would be well over $50,000 for the year. So I think we're going to be able to get that in line with where we need it at much less money as we prepare for that. Some good news that I've shared with you all by email regarding an economic development announcement. A company, a private investor, has purchased Madison Manufacturing in Hot Springs, and they have been working with the county. We've been talking to them since about March, and Ryan Cody and I met with them and talked with the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, went and visited the plant. They evaluated the status of the building, and the need to do repairs was critical for what they did. So we helped them by the county applying for a building reuse grant through the North Carolina Department of Commerce Rural Division. And you all approved that application in July, including a county match, $13,000 from the county. It's a $10,000 per job grant that the state provides, and we were approved for that in October. Total number of jobs will be 26 jobs in the next 3 years in Hot Springs. That's an average salary. That'll vary. This salary average, because this is normal in this business, this includes the manager if they bring in a new manager. But it also includes everyone in the plant. But the average salary plus benefits is the average salary is $38,770 plus benefits. The county average salary is $29,303. This is a very good thing happening. The company will be doing some sort of open house or something in the next month to 6 weeks, and all of you all will be invited. But a very good move,
as soon as we get the official word, that they're voted in, but we haven't gotten the paperwork from the state. Once we get that, the attorney will work with us on making sure we have the appropriate language in there to protect the county of this. But this is very good news for Madison County. I'd sent you an email about a public hearing that's coming up Monday, November 16th at the Renaissance in Asheville regarding the I-26 connector in Asheville. And this is really the public officials' chance is 12 to 1 p.m. that day, and I'll be there, but it would be great for any or all of you to be there if you can. And for members of the public, later that evening at the Renaissance, 3:30 to 6:30, there's a public input session and then a formal presentation at 7 p.m. You can also go to the DOT website and look at what the current plans have come back as. But as you look at that and consider it, the I-26 connector has recently been discussed finally as a regional issue rather than a city of Asheville or Buncombe County issue. I don't know how that will change with DOT and how they look at it, but what has happened every time we've gotten to this point for the last 30 years has been a rejection, some sort of additional planning or problem with the immediate impact that's there. We've got so many people driving out of this county who need to get through there. We have so many trucks who need to get up through there and come to us. This is holding back Madison County. So that is a great thing for you all to attend if you can and provide that input, because there will be many others there providing input as well.
Florida.
Yes, sir.
Are you getting ready to move to another time? Before you do that, do we have a report from a county perspective as to where we stand with comp time within the county? I mean, do we know? Because we had asked Norris and I are on the DSS board, and we had asked our director to give us a report next month as to how many employees we have, what the comp time situation is. I'm not even sure I really understand. I thought I understood comp time, but I really don't think I do. And are we in compliance with all the laws? And the way we're doing comp time, I didn't think you could do it that way, but obviously I'm wrong. So do we know how many employees we have? If someone was to quit, do we know how much? Do we have an ongoing report?
We have an ongoing report that I'm reviewing monthly and emailing every manager who has somebody who's above anything we couldn't deal with a 2-week notice. So really I'm sort of flagging it at 40 hours, but 80 is really something to look at more to find out the plan for when they're going to deal with that. And that may be 6 months from now, because one vacation, historically can take care of that. But we have departments where it's a challenge. Transportation's one of them, because it's a problem. Because they have been short a driver, they end up out there and somebody's late for a doctor's appointment and they move around. And as we're looking at that budget next year, we could probably, might not save money, but it'd be a more efficient use of the money we have to have somebody there who could cover that more. Sheriff's office accrues a lot of comp time because of the way their shifts are set up, and they also are dealing with accrued balances that came up years ago. So, and that's also true in other departments. It really is falling to really social services in the sheriff's department when you look at most of the comp time that we have. Other than that, it's a few isolated instances where I would say about 6 emails that I had to send out to deal with that. And social services has a pretty good system of dealing with theirs pretty quickly, at least from looking at that report. That report doesn't calculate out what the rate would be. We haven't done that, but we do what the actual liability would be, but we do know the number of hours, the time and a half hours that are accrued there. the need to get those burned down, because you can have an employee leave who has over, if they've been allowed to build it up, a very big chunk of money that's not budgeted. So it's a big issue that I understand the county has done a lot in the last 5-6 years to address. And we're sort of renewing that push, and we're going to have a lot more people who come on board who are maybe more likely to be in that boat. And we're really going to have to work on bringing that down, dealing with it as quickly as we can.
Thank you.
The update on the courthouse, maintenance is working in the mornings they're going to start working from about 7:30 to 9:30 on days that there's court on the 3rd floor storage room, some minor work. They had finished the front room on the side facing, facing the river. If you all haven't looked at that room, you need to, because it's very nice. They've got the wood floors in there, and it's all painted up and cleaned up, and the clerk's office is using that for storage. The clerk's office is in need of the 2 other rooms that were on the back side that weren't discussed at first. It's storage. We're not trying to fix that up as a Cadillac just yet. The front side is going to have some members of the public going in and out. Backside just storage, so we're simply taking out the carpet, putting down some basic carpet, and getting that fixed here in the next little bit. The first full day they'll be able to work on that will be November 23rd because of the court schedule, but probably between these hours and that day they'll be able to finish it by then.
Okay.
The rooms downstairs, we received the sealed, stamped plans from our engineer on Thursday. We have been working on that for about 2 months, and the engineers just had plenty of work to do, is my guess, because as soon as we said, we're going to go with you, it took about a month to get them in there. And then they were in there and looked around and did what they needed to do, and it took about 3 weeks to get the plans. But we have those, and Mr. Hunter, the maintenance director, is going through every licensed general contractor listed in the yellow pages, the Chamber of Commerce directory, and anyone else who's known of, to bring them in for a meeting at the end of next week to go through it all, and get the 3 responsive bidders and go with the lowest responsible bidder on that, at least 3, potentially more. One of the things that the plan showed is that due to a lack of planning on the last part of this, the new boiler that was installed has piping that goes up almost directly against the ceiling in the basement, and we have to install a beam right through that piping. So all of that piping has to be moved and redone by welders and that sort of thing. So found that out since Thursday, and maintenance is trying to work on that simultaneously, get somebody in there to fix that while we're still working on lining up someone to do the structural work that's not right around there, and also meeting with electricians. I expect to have the lowest bid on that probably later this week, if I were guessing, and go ahead and start on the electrical work, because the floor's in. They can be doing that while those other things are going. So I expect somebody will be selected here very soon on the electrical. Don't know about their schedule for getting started, but that's where we are with those aspects of it.
Forrest, when the work on the courthouse started, originally it started out as a grant, correct?
Yeah, there was a Tourism Development Authority grant, that's local occupancy tax revenue that's restricted for tourism purposes to restore Lady Justice, and they basically rebuilt Lady Justice with a lighter, they'd had issues with the heavy one causing damage and probably death if it fell on the right person. But they got that grant and fixed that, and when going up to prepare to install Lady Justice on top, the commissioners then found out about not being able to install it there based on some rot and things like that. So then the project was expanded to include work on the dome and some paint on the front, redoing the columns and cleaning the front of the building, actually cleaning the entire exterior. But only the front got done, and the dome obviously got finished, and there was some interior work on the dome as well structurally. And from there, that was about 1.5 years, and then from there, the inside work started last October.
How much have we spent,
Um,
and how much do we have left to spend?
We have spent $246,000, $246,121 left in the money that was set aside for the courthouse, including we went ahead and took out what we knew we'll be paying soon for the engineer. That'll be $65,000 that's there. And we're estimating that the work going on right now to those rooms will be about $29,000.
So we're gonna do the most work that we can get done, hopefully with what, $65,000 we have left, to see how, go to that point.
Well, yeah, you get to that point, and then you got to really look at what you do next. You're going to need more money at some point to install. We got this boiler in there to deal with the heat. We had these window units that had looked awful on the front of the courthouse, side of the courthouse. Those got taken out, and the windows got fixed, and they looked good. Most of the windows got fixed. They looked really good. And then all of a sudden, we end up these windows fixed that you don't want to open and can't put a window unit back in. That'd be ridiculous. And we've got no air conditioning on that side of the building. And we're looking at the estimate for what it takes to install that system, and it's well over $100,000. And that has to be addressed. Rebuilding restrooms is another issue that needs to be addressed for ADA accessibility and just standard, how do you fit that many people in a building these days? Those sorts of things. Y'all have seen the plan, not the plan, but the schedule of what you do over several years, and it breaks it out and totals $600,000 to $700,000. And that's kind of what you go from. But it's a major project, and it takes some time to plan what's most important and how you go about it, and what impacts something else as you're going through that building, and being able to step back through that to make sure that you're not painting everything up, getting great finished work, but you don't have air conditioning. That's a risk. And it's happening, really, so it's not just a risk, it's just what's happened. But that's kind of what it is.
At one time, we had a question about the scissor lift. Whatever happened to that?
The lift was not paid for out of courthouse funds. It was paid for out of, I guess, reserves. It was a contingency at the end of fiscal year 12-13. It's about $31,000, and it was purchased for the purpose of accessing the front of the building that's too high to get to, obviously. And you can rent one for about $500 a day from United Rentals, which is where we bought this one from. And we have little use for it outside of that. We do occasionally have a use for a lift. We can rent one if we need that. We still have this thing that you have to move around. You don't know where, we had it over on the island because the town borrowed it. They gave us their liability information, got everything squared away, and they used it to repair some lights on the bridge. then they just put it behind their fence over there till we could get it moved. We don't have a trailer that can move it. We have to line that up. And then the flood was gonna come and didn't, and they moved everything off the island, so it's back at the courthouse. We need to get it moved, or we need to get rid of it. We're not, it's just not something that, having seen for a year what the need is, I don't see it being justified to maintain something like that.
Will that outfit we bought it from, would they be interested in a real deal?
It's a real deal, yeah.
I think we'd be better off to do something on Gov deals with it for us to try to get the most we can for it. The purchase of that was never discussed or voted on by the commissioners.
Not specifically. The commissioners approved the county manager at the time spending a sum of money on different items that were not specified. And that was toward the end of the fiscal year, and there was money there and a desire to get it out and spend it. And it was used for that lift, as well as the 8 Subarus that are up at DSS, which we got reimbursed for. The state pays for. Those are like, when you look at it, those Subarus cost us like $2,500 a piece. So that was a very good deal, but it required that upfront money. I don't know I wasn't in the meeting, don't know what that lift was discussed, but I know that based on that authorization and based on the board, y'all be careful what you authorize me to do. I'm not gonna go do that, but be careful, because when you vote to do that,
We would want it to be brought before the board on something, especially for that amount of money. And that's something that I know you would do. But I think we should really look at selling it and taking the money and using it for the courthouse repair.
Was that the same time, was the same monies used to buy, and I'll call it the foxhole digger that we got over at the landfill that's, I've been told is not operational, and I don't know that. Is it operational or not?
I don't know. I do not know. That device was not this money. That was out of the landfill enterprise fund, and it was a different time.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on anything?
I'd like to make a comment if I could. Had the opportunity to discuss with with Ryan Cody in regards to the project that you guys worked together on in Hot Springs. And I just want to say on behalf of myself and hopefully the rest of the citizens, that was a dang good job that Ryan and you did to try and to bring that to Madison County. That's one nice step forward for our county, and I'd like to see us do more of that.
Thank you, and I'll give commissioners credit. You weren't there yet, but the others.
Hey, I've gotten a lot of credit for stuff I didn't do yet.
Over the party, that's right.
And some blame too.
The commissioners did, and for those who had to sacrifice in this year's budget, one of the things that was most important was funding a person, half a person. It's only a step in the right direction, who could devote time to this. And this timing worked out well. This isn't going to happen every few months. This is a great thing, but having Ryan be able to handle that application process when I didn't have time has been a huge asset, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else he can do, and I appreciate you all making that a priority in your budget. So,
thank you for it.
Thank you.
And as we can kind of toot our own horn for us, if you could make sure the newspaper and other folks are aware when these kinds of things are taking place, that it gets, thank you, Paul.
I would love to tour that place.
Okay.
I think, have we done a press release on that yet?
It is drafted and the company's approved it. We're gonna get it out here.
Very good. Thank you.
We'll do your work for you.
He has the same problem we do, limited resources.
You have in your packets the financial report for the month of October. And at this point in time, we're up over 228,000 in revenues over last year at this period. And we're down 528,000 in expenditures from this time last year, which is a good direction to be in. The tax collection is up 47,000 from this time, same time period as last year. That's about what I have to say on that part, if anybody has any
Darlene, I have a
questions.
question.
Okay.
You know, we're 4/12 of the year through 33%. So particularly our revenues, anything below 33%, we've missed the target a little bit.
It depends. Some of our revenues will come in, like there's some big ones that come in June of next year.
And I know the health department and DSS, and I know the register of deeds, 40%. So that's good news.
Yes.
And I know we have talked with Sheriff's Department. Is that due to not having as many inmates?
Not as many federal inmates.
Okay.
He has picked up some inmates from Mitchell County and has worked a deal where we're getting paid for those people, as well as any time that we have to transport them to court, they're paying mileage and the hourly salary of those employees that he has to send out.
Okay.
Any more questions on that? Okay, and you have your listing of invoices that were paid in the month of October. If there's no questions on that, if you have any, I'll try to answer them.
Asheville Communications, who,
The Sheriff's Department.
Is that what that
and
is?
Teresa, the 911, those are
okay.
main uses on that. I can pull it and give you the exact.
No, I was just clarifying that. I thought that's what that was, but I wasn't sure.
And Darlene, the expenditure to AV Tech, what exactly is that?
That is our payment to them. We break their payments down, the amount that we allocate in the budget.
Okay.
They get monthly payments. So you'll be seeing that regularly.
Can't help but realize that the biggest numbers on these sheets are all related to foster care of children.
That's
So
correct.
you DSS guys might be a good time to put in a plug for people to get certified as foster families.
And the rate is higher, I think, when it's out of county.
Very much so.
They're expensive.
That's money we'd be better off spending here locally, not only because it'd be cheaper, but we get some benefit from it, or additional added benefit, I should say.
Darlene, what's that $12,718 check to First Citizens Bank? What, do we have a loan with them?
That's probably credit cards. Each department has
Oh, that's
credit
right.
card usage, and that's probably on a computer or something that was wrong. I'll look it up and let you know exactly.
And have we talked, I know we talked briefly about this for us, about French Broad Electric, maybe doing some kind of study on our buildings to see if we get that $35,000 check we're writing them, try to get that down. I mean, they'll come out and do an analysis of our buildings, correct?
They would. We have not done that yet.
Okay.
Any more discussion on this? Okay.
Okay, the next item is the budget amendment, and in this amendment, the health department is, the state has reduced some funds, an amount of $1,093 for state family planning. They increased $2,000 for STD prevention, And then we received 20,000 additional funds from the state for public health preparedness. And on the grant section, that's a grant that Forest Road and received for a comprehensive analysis of Marshall and Madison County for software development businesses to come to the county, I think.
Any questions or discussion on budget amendment 4? No? Do I hear a motion to approve budget amendment 4?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of budget amendment 4, raise your right hand. All opposed, like.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is your tax releases and refunds for the month of October.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the October property tax releases and refunds?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor of October property tax release and refunds, raise your right hand. All opposed?
And the last item I have is your board vacancies. And it's the nursing adult care home board.
As we look over these, this board is actually the only thing that we need to have some immediate vacancies on right now, isn't it?
That's yes, the ones below are for next month. You'll be seeing those for next month.
So we have 3 vacancies on the board at the time.
Well, I think we have 3 vacancies, and Dana Lee Potts is up for reappointment.
Evidently, I'm told, shouldn't say that, she is no longer there either.
No longer, okay. I didn't know that. So we have 4 vacancies.
Okay. At this time, I will open the floor for nominations for the nursing adult care home board.
I've got one nominee.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Alan Bradley. Alan Bradley. For those may need to be reintroduced.
No.
He's our gentleman with the beacon of hope.
Yeah, we know Alan.
Okay. What you said.
Good choice.
And you have no relative in any nursing home? Any more nominations? Okay. At this time, I will close the nominations for the nursing adult care home board. Okay. We have a nomination of Alan Bradley. All in favor of Alan Bradley for the nursing adult care home, raise your right hand. All opposed, likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
At this time, we have public comment. Rick?
Thank you very much for having public comment at the end. I would like to, first of all, comment on Mr. Ortman's comments earlier. I think his is a very, very good idea, and I do hope you, as a board, consider his recommendation. I didn't know, I signed up for public comment because I knew that he was going to sign up, and I figured you needed a bookend. You know, actually, the first thing I did was regretted the fact that I was unable to attend your special meeting when you discussed the landfill. I was gratified to read in tomorrow's News Record and Sentinel, congratulations, News Record and Sentinel, getting it out today for tomorrow, to see that you've resolved that issue. So I want to say thank you, because I know that's been bugging us for a while, and I have been outspoken on the subject of landfill, I know that, so thank you for resolving that. Secondly, I want to say how much I think you've made a very, very good move to endorse the Community Housing Coalition request again this year. For those of you who don't know, I was the prior executive director of that agency, and they continue to do a wonderful job since I've stepped down. And to answer the question about Spring Creek and Shelton Laurel and so on, over the years, there has been much work done in those communities through home grant. And as Mr. Watson said, they have to be owner-occupied homes on foundations in order to be considered. And the income of the homeowners has to be incredibly low even by the standards of most people here. So I think it's very, very much, it's money well spent. If we can get that money from the Asheville Regional Housing Consortium, from Housing and Urban Economic Development, that's an excellent thing to do. It's nice to know we're an urban community, isn't it? Forgot his name. Wilcox.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a good thing. But finally, I want to talk very, very briefly about the need for people on boards and commissions. Thank you very much for passing out for us last month the list of boards and commissions and committees that the county has. I think it is an excellent opportunity for all Madison County residents to step forward. I certainly have an application that I'll submit today to be able to put on record. You may not have the need for the things I bring to the table, but I'd encourage everybody else in this room to consider stepping forward and becoming a part of helping this county government do some of the great things they're doing. Forrest mentioned the economic development movement. I'm very glad we have that moving forward, notwithstanding the fact my wife is on that economic development board. But I think these are good steps that you're now making, and I just want to say, well done, county commissioners.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for the board to go into closed session? 143-318-11 will be for the personnel and property. So anything else, Mr. Attorney, we need to put on?
Thank you, got it.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor of closed session, raise your right hand. We are in closed session. We'll be
Same
back.
room, gentlemen.
Yeah, we'll be right back, folks.
Thank you.
I think we increased the estimation by
We didn't change anything. You know, seriously, we reached out to people and said, what is the application?